Hey everybody, Portland Chess Shop here to bring you the chess action, and we're on part 3 of a Nakamura analysis session looking at his past 20 games. So we've analyzed the first, the 20th to the 11th previous game. That's really awkward. Anyway, so we're looking at his 10 most recent games that he played on May 30th, just looking at, his style a little bit, trying to see exactly what he does. So Grandmaster Silly Wizard is actually a really strong player, around the same strength as Nakamura. So it looks like Silly Wizard plays Queen Pawn with a fianchetto, and Nakamura somewhat cockily decides to go with this knight maneuver that he's been playing. Can't be the best variation, but this is a little bit of a Dutch, which I know Nakamura is a little bit of a specialist in the Dutch defense. So white has a somewhat sizable advantage. But here actually looks like knight takes e4. Could have been good. Interesting. So, but he plays pawn takes. And it looks like knight g5 could have been a shot instead of knight takes e4, because you're threatening some to advance perhaps, but also to take back and overprotecting the square. So now in this position, there's takes, and the bishop is able to move out with tempo, but apparently rook to c4 would be a good move. This position is also pretty good for white. But what about the time? We see that Nakamura is up a little bit in time. Pieces are moving around. Looks like b4 could be good here, because the knight doesn't have many squares. It'll be forced to go to knight a6. Actually, after b4, queen a4 is going to be the best. Try to trade queens off. So there's takes. Takes on f3. Kind of unusual. You can take the rook, it looks like. Does decide to take back. Now black is equalized. And here there's a tactic, queen f5, double exclamation mark. And I figure that Nakamura has already seen this. Why else would he have played this bishop takes? So here has some sort of a tactic. Oh no, he hadn't seen it. So he missed a queen f5, which attacks the bishop, both bishops, and has some pretty serious deadly threats. So Nakamura misses the tactic in this position. So this is not the best move for white. b4 would have been best, but bishop comes back to attack the queen. And the queen doesn't decide to take. b4 again is super good, but he doesn't do it again. And now bishop takes b2. And the queens get traded off in sort of an unusual way. And white is still a little bit better. So Nakamura wants to trade off the rooks because he knows that he's losing, and so he wants opposite colored bishop endings. Because the color of the bishop, they control opposite colored squares, which is means that it's drawish, it's weak. So here he actually allows this very powerful pass pawn just in order to create the opposite colored bishop ending, which was his goal. So the king comes here, the queen retreats, and apparently white is maybe better, but there's not really any progress that you can actually make. So this is a draw. We do see that Silly Wizard is in some pretty serious time trouble, actually. Nakamura having a minute and a half left. So it's possible that Nakamura could try. Now, I think this is a little bit rude to flag your opponent in a position like this. Seems like it's a draw, but if you continue to play for an attack, then I think it's okay. But if you play for a draw, then it's kind of lame. So 8 seconds against 33 seconds. He does sacrifice that pawn. He is definitely just playing for time, just pre-moving the bishop. Sacrifices the bishop even. And this is a one position for white, but white is completely out of time, and the game ends here. If he had just 2 seconds left, he could probably finish it. So next game, that was Silly Wizard. let's jump forward. So Nakamura plays the Trompowski again. Kind of interesting that Nakamura would choose to do that. He has played in a couple tournaments. I've seen that with, I think, good results. So maybe, I wonder if he's actually practicing it because he likes it. But there's also a chance that he's just playing it just because, he doesn't. He thinks maybe there's some winning chances in casual play and doesn't want to give away his opening theory. So we're moving forward pretty quick, but we got a lot of games to see. Interesting. So here it looks like knight takes e5 was really good. Interesting. Oh, because if like bishop takes here, that's terrible because then this knight takes g6 check, and then something takes back like the pawn or the knight. But then look, the bishop is attacking the queen. So that's actually like a really sweet tactic. And if like you take back at the pawn, then the bishop takes this bishop. So that's pretty cool. But Nakamura didn't see that tactic, and then in this position, looks like black is better. So that's a blunder. Look at this. He takes here, and it's not good. Bishop takes f3. G takes f3, so one of the pieces takes back. Then you take here. Queen check, and then you just block with your queen. But he doesn't even see it. Look at that. That's crazy. All you do is you just take, and then you just take the bishop. Nakamura does like unsound sacrifices like all the time. That's what I'm saying about this whole poker thing. Like, Nakamura plays chess like it's poker. Look at this gamble that he just played. He just sacrificed his bishop. It's not even sound, and he's up a minute and 45 seconds. That's just like putting pressure on the other player. And he, sometimes he has both players have top pair, and he has a king kicker. His opponent has a jack kicker. That's something that happened to me tonight. And sometimes he, gets it in bad. He shoves in tens against when another player has kings. That's something else I did tonight. So, sometimes the attacks are sound, sometimes they're not. But he just attacks and puts pressure, and that pressure is what gets his opponents to make mistakes. So his opponent makes another mistake, and White's apparently a little bit better in this position. There's some trades. Now White's much better. Queen e6 is a very good move. Does play it. And now the queen is also attacking on b6. And this bishop is basically trapped. The only square it has is really here, which would leave it completely out of the game. Like rook here might be devastating after that. So, after pawn up. No, before pawn up. But anyway, takes. Now Nakamura's up a piece. I do like that he's able to find tactical moves like this. It does look like black has some play in this position, in some sense, because if it was black to move, it would be takes and then check and, go for a checkmating attack. So I do like that in this position, Nakamura does play this move. Oops. And after takes, the game is basically over. King doesn't have any squares. If the rook comes here, then you can just take check. So that's the end of that game. Alright, so we got Crafty on the bottom, giving us some analysis, making me a good commentator, hopefully. So Nakamura is white in this game, and Nakamura decides to play king pawn. So he's playing some, not just playing his funky hyper modern style, but also playing a little bit for position. But then again, his queen is on h4, which is very unusual and doesn't even really seem that good because, the bishop is attacking the queen, or could be. But the queen's a little bit better here. He plays bishop g6. So we do see, he's only up 3 seconds, but then again, he's playing fast. His opponent's probably not used to playing quite so quickly. some moves are made. Knight comes forward, and now there's a tactic. Bishop takes h7, because if king takes, then queen check, king takes, and then you take check here. King moves over, and it's just way too good at that point. Knight takes, knight, and you're winning. But he plays this move instead, which isn't as good, because you can actually take the knight. You see how computers are able to really like refute a lot of his unsound sacrifices? I doubt that International Master George is going to take the knight in this position. I'm pretty sure that he's going to like think that Nakamura has some sort of attack. No, he does decide to take the knight. Well, that's pretty sweet. There's check, and this is actually the wrong way to take. Taking with the queen is better, because it's a draw, I guess. So king f7. Now black is supposed to be better. So queen h5 was what Crafty suggested, but instead Nakamura takes back the pawn. Knight takes e5, double exclam. So you have to ask yourself after knight takes e5, what's going to happen after queen h5 check? Because then the bishop's going to be attacking, and the queen attacking twice, so he'll get back a piece. And the king looks very vulnerable. So this is a blunder, but the other one's a tactic. So this is, I'm not totally sure. I'm going to have to go back. Queen check, king over, bishop takes, and it just doesn't work. How could the other one work? So after knight takes e5, alright, we might have to look at the game again. If it doesn't work, knight takes e5, queen g5, king f6. Is that what's going on? Alright, I have to try it. It's against... Well, okay, you have g6, because now the knight defends the g6 square. The queen is attacked, the queen can't take, and so now something like this has to be played, after which a consolidating move, queen f6, makes black very far ahead. So the knight is defending, and that's why he's able to defend with g6. Makes sense. If bishop takes, you take back with the knight. Alright, let's see if we can continue with the Nakamura game. Oh, we're back in the Nakamura game. That's awesome. So we can even examine sidelines and then return to the main game. That's great. So queen takes, and now Nakamura is willing to trade queens because he's up a pawn. It doesn't really seem like that big of an advantage in this position, but it's good enough for Nakamura. I mean, Nakamura, you know, is as I said, I think he's really good at rook and pawn end games. I think that's a specialty of his, and when you see his openings and his middle games, you wouldn't quite realize that he's so good at endings, and that's part of his strategy. You see he's also up over 2 minutes. It looks like this is a position where 2 minutes is enough, but it's bad when you're down a pawn, you know? When you're the losing side. It's hard to draw this. Especially against Nakamura. So there's a check, the king retreats. Tries to trade off the rooks, which isn't going to happen. So these pawns are pretty good. I like the position for white, but it's also, you know, how exactly do you make progress? The answer is you play h5. Now this rook has an open line, so Nakamura has sacrificed a pawn, but this looks like just good rook and pawn endgame stuff, where now he's actually down a pawn, right? But he's activated his king and his rook, which is good, and he's actually way ahead in this position, even though he's down material. Because here's forced mate in 1. Well, maybe not forced, but it's not looking like a good situation. So I think that's good rook and pawn in games knowledge right there. Should we just look at that game? Alright, this might be the last one for this part, because I'm getting a little bit tired. So, he does this I want to call it a stupid opening, but It's just works for him. I guess they're starting with 3 minutes each in this game. So there's an exchange the knight, and now there's another exchange. This doesn't even look that good for Nakamura, and it probably isn't, as Crafty shows. But it doesn't look like White is finding the most aggressive continuations. I mean, he's obviously trying to be aggressive because he's playing, well, I mean Black. Sorry. Anyway, takes. Well, I went too fast through this one. But the main thing to see is that White is way down on time, and the position is actually still equal, but time is by far the biggest factor. Nakamura has used less than a minute, and his opponent has used over 2.5 minutes. Interesting to see that the game was pretty well played so far, insofar as it looks like it's pretty equal throughout the game. But now this could be a mistake because of Queen B6 check. And yeah, White just really needed to get some dynamic play. Now the rooks are getting exchanged off because Black is up material. So we see again Nakamura showing that he is an excellent endgame player. That's why what makes him so dangerous, I think, is that he comes out, playing something really funky. In the middle game, he maybe finds some like sick tactics or some complications that you wouldn't have expected, and then in the end game, he plays really well. So he has sort of 3 different stages to his play, and I think that makes him a dangerous player. And here, Black is better. He's won this pawn back, and his opponent decides to tap out. So thanks for watching. Portland Chess Shop. Appreciate it. Bye.